Welcome to Unlock 360, the podcast for champions of public education. Here we explore the connection between leadership, teaching, and learning, and reveal the keys to getting better results for all students. Each episode highlights a change maker who's turning vision into action and creating schools where both educators and students thrive. Hey everyone, today I am super excited to welcome Evan Stevens, a multilingual learner specialist of Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools in North Carolina. Welcome, Evan.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It's so good to have you. Will you just kick us off with a brief introduction of yourself?
Hi, yes, my name is Evan Stevens. I am a multilingual learner specialist from Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools. I taught in the classroom for about 10 years. I first taught music for 7 and then ESL ML for 3. Then when I got to the district, I did technology for a year, data for a couple years, and now I cover all of the MLs for the south and southwest of Charlotte. So anything kind of from the South Carolina border all the way right to the the 6 o'clock on the clock. So yeah, we cover several thousand students at this point, and most of my clientele is Slavic, Burmese students, some Arabic, and we help them get technology and resources all day long.
Okay, fantastic. So share with us, if you will, what inspired you to go into education?
Yeah, it's very a little bit different from my current role as an ML specialist because when I started, I wanted to be a band director. I was 12 years old, and I was pretty solid at playing the flute. And I said, well, I could probably do this for a living. This seems nice. And so I researched teaching in high school. I took teaching courses in college. One very unique, wonderful thing that was a part of North Carolina for a long time is that you could get a large amount of college scholarship in North Carolina if you promised to teach in North Carolina public schools afterwards. So
Oh, nice.
every year that you received funds, you then taught an accompanying year afterwards. So I got that as a senior in high school because I knew I wanted to be a teacher. So I was 12 years old. I did all 4 years, and then, I continued on. So it wasn't until about COVID that I wanted to, take kind of a more active role because you see everybody as a band director, as a music teacher, right? You see everybody
Yeah.
at school. And so they said, "Well, come on over to ESL." And I said, "Alright." And that's where I landed. So, yeah, kind of an interesting trajectory, but, I've always wanted to be in education, and I've never really wanted to do anything else.
Yeah. Okay, great. Good. Thanks for sharing that. And, tell us more about your role specifically in Charlotte Mecklenburg and how you are bringing technology and STEAM and AI initiatives to life, and also the relationship between those resources and your work with multilingual learners.
Yeah, so one of the, kind of the reasons that I got called up to district was, um, I enjoy computers, I enjoy tech a lot, I've always been a gamer, right? And I felt like there was a need there that, one of the taglines for, our, uh, learning language acquisition department, our ML department, is making the invisible visible, right?
Okay.
And I feel like ML students aren't always given the same resources, or it's kind of an afterthought for these kids. And my thought would be, well, if you've got a robotics club, what difference is there if a student is an ML kid or not, if they enjoy robotics, right? And so, a little, before I got to the department, but then definitely myself and a few of the others in the last few years, as we were, working in the ML department, we're like, what can we offer these kids? What resources can we provide, and how can we utilize these new tools? Everybody's talking about AI now, right? It's the big hot topic. Everybody is talking about automation, robotics, virtual reality. So, how can we get our MLs into this? So we said, okay, um, has there been an AI initiative for MLs? uh, let's do a conference in Charlotte with our CMS teachers, our ML teachers that are the experts in the classroom here. Uh, does anybody want to research AI strategies? We had a couple of teachers that came in that said, "Yeah, I want to do a year long study. Can we do that?" I said, "Sure, let's try it out." And so we started getting all of these resources with some of our COVID funds, right? Everybody had all those COVID funds,
Right.
and, like an example was, hey, let's make a STEAM curriculum and have the ML student engage with an AI prompt. And let's do Adobe and the ML student, we're talking, fourth, fifth, sixth graders in there, uh, part of their English learner development classes can be prompt engagement and becoming these prompt engineers that like what Microsoft want, right? Can we work on these sentence frames that are already helping with them their language development and hey, make portraits of themselves or make a product that they're interested that there's a need in their community, right? So we're so in that case, like we bought licenses for Adobe and for Canvas, and so that these students and these teachers could utilize them.
Okay.
And we did something very similar as far as purchasing these resources, getting them out to the teachers, having teacher experts at these conferences, telling to all the other ML teachers. We did something similar for virtual reality. I created an entire STEAM curriculum that utilizes at its base was Legos, right? But it was a whole Brick Labs engineering curriculum. So the whole concept is how can we get the resources? What resources do we need that can get an ML kid into a STEAM subject? How can we tweak the lessons so that they get English learner development while getting new 21st century skills? And then how can we utilize these teachers who've been teaching for 10, 20, 30 years as ML teachers into this new train of STEAM thought and elevate these kids forward?
Mhm, mhm. That sounds awesome. Have you all noticed or seen any specific, gains in the achievement of your multilingual learners as a result of these efforts?
Yeah. So I would say, I think of our pilot schools, right?
Uh-huh.
And our pilot schools, so we did a pilot at one particular one with 3D printing. And
Okay.
what's great about this particular it was one teacher, she's the only ML teacher at that school. There's about 70 students there, and ML students. And what I give her a lot of credit for is she's very meticulous with her data. And she says, here's where we were, here's where we were going, right? And science retention went way up, which is great. The access scores, which is WIDA, is we're part of the WIDA consortium, so we're one of most of the states of the country that have the same language access test to test our kids into English proficiency. Access scores went up, and to me, I am a lifelong educator, but the biggest thing to me is and I know this might be controversial for a central office person, is not numbers. To me, it's engagement.
Yeah.
And uh, our 3D printing group, she started a club later. Uh, I think it was every single kid out of like the 35 that did something with the 3D printing, every kid except one ended up going voluntarily to that club afterwards.
Wow, that's so cool. Yeah.
So we not only would the science scores up, now these were fourth and fifth graders. So, we were evaluating the fifth grade data specifically because that's what we test here is fifth grade science. But the not only were the science up, not only was the ELD up, the English learner the English language, but these kids wanted to do more with it.
Mhm.
And
That's so
that's
cool.
yeah, I think that's the biggest thing for me. And even as teachers have transitioned schools or left or come back, even as there's been different cohorts of kids, this STEAM model has persisted for a few years now. Where this was kind of like year 3 of like true implementation, and it's really getting a lot of traction.
Yeah, okay. Now, I guess I'm thinking it might be helpful for our audience and for myself to have a better understanding of um, the area that you serve and approximately like how many schools and are we talking about, and how many different languages do the students bring to the table?
Yeah, so Charlotte is a mid-major city, right? I want to say we're 13th in population. I don't know if that's an official thing, but I know we're kind of right there. And we are the second biggest district in North Carolina. We were the first, we were the biggest district for many years, and then Raleigh beat us, I think, last year. And Charlotte and Raleigh always have an ongoing rivalry. So
Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
we are we're fairly large. I help coach and manage the ML teachers for 21 schools. Uh
Okay.
and there are 11 of us that are in my role. And so some of us, especially like the high school individuals, because I'm with elementary, will have, I think 13 is the lowest. I actually have the highest of all of us at 21. So you're thinking 13 times 11, right? So that is at bare minimum. We have I I manage 21 of the 184 schools.
Okay.
So the
Across the district, right, okay.
correct.
And there are how many of you that serve across the whole district?
There are 11 of us that do the same role, which is providing these ML resources. There are
Okay,
3 high school, 2 middle, 1 K-8, and then there is 6 of us elementary folk. Uh,
okay, alright, and
so
so your teachers then, the teachers you serve and support are across 21 schools.
correct,
How
yes.
many teachers, how many teachers are there?
I would say ML specifically, it goes my lowest has 1, the highest has 5.
Okay,
One of my schools has 5. The largest school that we have that my colleague does, has 9, ML teachers. So, and you're talking, and they have, 90 kids within a day. So you're, talking about times 9. So quite substantial. But literally my schools, the lowest school that I have, uh, has 4 ML students, and the highest ML that I have has 256. So,
wow, okay,
and we run the gambit. The majority of my schools are somewhere in the 70 to 110 ML students range.
okay.
I would say that's about the average, and most of my schools have 1 to 1.5. Some will have 2 ML teachers, yes.
Okay, all right. That's really helpful. And then in terms of languages that the kiddos bring to the table, I'm sure there is a large variety. What are maybe your top 5?
So yeah, so you and I were talking about this before the show a little
Yeah.
bit. So yeah, Charlotte is a fairly diverse city, as most mid-major cities are. But I'm kind of in a unique location within the city. So the majority of Charlotte multilingual learners speak Spanish, as in the majority of the country. One thing with that Spanish, we have a large number of Hondurans.
Okay.
Most that is not always typical in most cities. Most cities may have a lot of immigrants from Mexico. We have kind of tends to alternate between the third and fourth largest Honduran population in the country.
Okay.
So,
Interesting.
yeah, so a little bit different there. Um, and the majority of our schools are Spanish. However, the area that I work in, particularly the South and a little bit of the Southwest, but mostly the South and Southeast of our city, is kind of where any non-Spanish speakers have ended up in their neighborhoods. So my schools in particular have a large number of Hindi and Tamil speakers.
Interesting.
Uh,
Okay.
we have a lot of Russian and Ukrainian speakers, um, and some of those Slavic languages. And then over on the east part of the city, with my counterpart in Spot A, tends to have a lot of Burmese, has a lot of Vietnamese. So I would say Spanish predominantly the vast majority of the city, but specifically in the south and southeast of Charlotte is quite varied, and a lot more European in nature.
And um, not to say this is specific to Charlotte in particular, but you know, in general, having served in multiple states and having, worked and had conversations with folks in multiple districts, um, resources tend to be heavily geared to serving the Latin American population or the Spanish speakers. What do you see by way of that for these kiddos that may be speaking other languages that aren't as common across the city?
Yeah, I it's something I feel very passionate about is those resources for non-Spanish, non-English speakers. We changed over kind of our district restructuring in March. And one of the reasons that I ended up in the South was because even when we were kind of all 11 of us were working, within the whole city, my specialty was those resources for non-English, non-Spanish.
Okay.
And it's very interesting because it's a completely different subset of student, but a lot of teachers will see that ML label because it is a label oftentimes and kind of have the same thing. For example, a lot of European speakers, especially Slavic speakers, may have a lot of English already. Now that's not to say a blanket statement, right? But it is very common to have a higher knowledge to when you're first coming into U.S. schools. The agriculture, the commerce, the jobs may
Uh-huh.
be different. You might be used to a family that was in tech, as opposed to a family that is used to being a farm or construction. So the background knowledge is different. Uh, Frankly, there aren't a lot of Slavic speaker teachers or like resources in general because there is a saturation there. There are a lot of Spanish teachers. Spanish is a very common foreign language to learn in U.S. schools, and it's a decently easy transition to go from a Spanish world language teacher to an ML teacher, and a lot of times we'll get a combo. You don't have that for Ukrainian very often. It's very rare to have Ukrainian exit exams for students, but it's very common to say, "Hey, you can probably test out a Spanish 101."
Right.
It's not that common to test out a Ukrainian 101 because a lot of times there isn't a Ukrainian 101.
Right. Right.
And what is interesting is, again, my area of the city is unique in its demographics, and so because of that, a lot of times you might see, like, for example, a couple of our high schools have Russian courses in the South because there are a lot of Russian speakers, right? You might see more billboards and signs in Cyrillic, right? Which is a very different alphabet system than the Romance languages are going to have, right? And I think it's very important to note teaching a Haitian student is not the same as teaching a Honduran student, is not the same as teaching a Ukrainian student. You
Right.
have three vastly different life experiences, three vastly different education levels, and three vastly different approaches to the world. And the biggest thing that I try to impart on folks when I'm talking to them is I don't speak Korean. If you, picked me up and put me in South Korea, I'm the same guy I've always been. I just don't speak Korean. Doesn't mean I don't enjoy robotics and virtual reality. Doesn't mean I couldn't use a dictionary. Just means I can't speak, Korean. So, we should give these Ukrainians a Ukrainian dictionary if they need it. And if we don't have that resource, even if we got a million Spanish dictionaries, that doesn't help. So, if we can get these guys a Ukrainian dictionary, let's get them a Ukrainian dictionary.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah. You made me think of just sparked a thought in my mind, something that happens frequently, working with teachers who are teaching multilingual learners and um, encouraging teachers across the board to teach kids to think critically and to engage in tasks at higher depths of knowledge. oftentimes, the teachers that may teach kiddos that have less English proficiency will say, "Well, I can't like, that doesn't really work in my course because I'm just teaching them the basics." But, uh, I'm curious what you think about that. What are your thoughts on that?
So, yeah, when I was teaching ML in the classroom, I also taught general fourth grade. And I was, I had worked in the school because I was teaching both at the same time, which is not the easiest feat in the world. And again, I come from a music background, so I wasn't really sure how to do that anyway, right? And so I said, well, I know MLs, I know the resources we have. Could these work for the general kids too? Right? Could these scaffolds, could these amplifications work for all the kids? And it did, and it made my job easier too.
Yeah.
And there's we in Charlotte Mech, we use a lot of QTEL strategies, quality teaching for
Yes.
English learners. And one of the big tenets that is described is called amplify, not simplify.
Uh-huh.
And I never took calculus as a kid, right? I was a music major. I never took calculus. But uh I have Ukrainians at the high school across the street from my elementary school that I have met personally that have taken higher level maths than I ever did. And they are learning English at the same time. There's no reason you can't do that.
Right.
And I really try to impart to the teachers because I get that a lot. I do. This concept of, well, it's just not going to work. Right? It's just not going to work.
Yeah.
And and m- my thought is why? Challenge me. Why won't it work?
Exactly.
And let's
Yeah.
find a way to make it work.
Exactly. I
That's not
mean, the analogy that you provided is what sparked that thought, and that, you can think, and that doesn't leave your ability to think critically doesn't escape you because you don't know the language if you were to be dropped into, Korea. So, same thing, right?
I my goal, and I don't often achieve this with my elementary schoolers, to be fair, because at their most they're going to be 11. But the my ultimate goal, I would love if all of the ML students in Charlotte mastered tougher subjects than I ever took. And if we can do that, then boy, I've done my job. And I've grown up in Charlotte since I was 7 years old. And so I want to make our city a better city, right?
Yeah.
And we are actually, I saw an infographic yesterday, and you never trust things without knowing the research. So I don't know if it's true or not, but it had showed that North Carolina had the most immigration in this year of any state,
Interesting. Uh-huh.
at more than 8%. And Texas, where you're from, is number two. And I don't know if that's a true statistic, right? But what I do know is since growing up, in the 90s and 2000s, we've had so many people come in.
Yeah.
And our city is such a new city. Let's make it a great one. Let's make it a one that has wonderful immigrants learning so many things. And so anytime a teacher says, well, I'm like, then prove it to me. And if you can't prove it to me, then put them in and they can do it.
Good. I love that. Yes, and I can relate because, that's the whole point of why we do this work. We want to make our towns, our states, our nation, our world a better place, right? By building the skills of kiddos so they have all kinds of exciting opportunities for their futures. Oh, yes, I absolutely relate to that. And then I guess the other piece kind of shifting to specifically to AI, will you shed some light on two things? First, what Charlotte doing in the realm of AI in education, or Charlotte Mech, and second, how you and your colleagues are transferring that to your work specifically with multilingual learners?
Yeah. So, as we mentioned a few minutes ago, AI is kind of the hot topic, right? And everybody um, wants to know how to make it work, where we're going with it, and I think it's a very fair assessment. I mean, we've gotten very much, the I don't remember when the book came out, but the tipping point. I often think about that because I've read that a few times, and AI is definitely on that, right? And so we've gone when I came in to the district, even just 3 years ago, AI was not a topic we were talking very much about. And, my team was like, "Hey, how can we get AI into the schools?" And even then, it was kinda like, "Oh, you can give some experimental stuff to the kids, right?"
Yeah.
But we're 3 years later, and, we have every single central, office personnel has taken, AI course by the district, right?
Okay.
And there are multiple AI champions, which is basically you are the expert on AI, and then you are gonna go out to your respective areas, and you are gonna teach, and kind of a teach the teacher model. And so, like, that is one of my roles in South Charlotte is serving as one of those AI champions, and basically taking all the trainings and then understanding these new tools. Okay, what can Gemini do that Claude can't? Right? How can we breach that into Adobe and Canvas, and how can we get these to the kids? And my job is then to help impart that into the teachers. One interesting aspect, I think, is in coaching. So, I come from very much a in the classroom background, right? I have
Yeah.
not been in central office too long. And so coaching is not the easiest for me still, as far as like a central office and district leader perspective. And the ability to analyze notes, meetings, to analyze, hey, you provided this data and you provided these talking points with your school side instructional leaders. Why don't you go in this direction? And that when we do that, we don't take any personal information, right? It's purely numbers.
Just to clarify, because I think I'm following you because of our previous conversation, but I want to make sure our audience is as well. You're talking about for your own self leveraging AI to help you with you put on your coaching hat and better serve the teachers, correct?
Correct. So,
Awesome. Okay.
let's give an example. So, we had summer school. We call we call it a camp here in CMS, and one way that AI was used to help these coaching was I think very innovative, at least in my eyes, which was we do and very consistently, like, once twice a day, we're going into these classrooms and saying, okay, where are we on your evaluative tool, right, our instructional walk. That's not the AI interesting part. The AI interesting part was we did this as a district this year, and we had metrics for, okay, in student engagement on a 1 to 5, here's the one that you just saw, here's how related to literally every other second grade throughout the district, which again, we're a mid-major city, that was a lot of second grade classrooms.
Yeah.
And okay, you are 0.24 below the average for this, student engagement standard. Here's some AI generated things you can talk about in your PLCs to get your teachers working on that standard. So if student engagement is what you're working at, here's the prompt and here's the discussion point that you can go to. And that's the pre-generated part. And that, I think, is the really innovative part. I think a billion central office people in a billion ways can make slides with AI. We've seen it up the wazoo, right? But utilizing it to pinpoint with surgical precision what discussion topics for PLCs, that's where we're taking that to a little bit of a higher range there.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yes, that is I agree. Very, very powerful. And it has to do something for your own capacity and your own professional growth as well, right? And just allows you to have even that much greater of an impact.
We're just starting the school year, right? We're at school, the kids will be coming back next week. And the central office, we're all, gearing up, we're doing all these PDs. And part of that last year, or not last year, last week, was kind of evaluating where you are as a coaching leader, right? And, to kind of go back to my point, because I come from a kind of a unique background of music and ML, I don't always have the content knowledge that some of the other coaches may have.
Okay.
I come from a different angle, right? Maybe it's data, maybe it's student engagement. We all have our own areas, right? And I feel like, uh, if AI is a tool like anything else, and let's utilize that tool. And for me, it is, oh, hey, you know what? You're really good at getting the teachers to buy in to what you're saying because you're really responsive. But you might not always know what to say for them to buy in. So here's some directions you can take it.
Oh, that's
And
awesome. Yeah.
utilizing that as a partnership, and I work a lot with Power BI dashboards. I love to do a lot of data analysis, something that I had no idea about before I got to central office, right? I have a percussion degree. I had no idea how to do data analysis. And to be able to kind of talk back and forth with AI to be like, "Oh, let's analyze the data this way. Let's, oh, you want to highlight this subgroup at this school, use this code." Right? I'm not a programmer. So that's a great way to take, hey, go do this work for me, right? Because that's where AI has been for a long time. And now let's wield it,
Yeah.
just like the sword, just like the pen, let's wield it.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. And I love these examples. Really awesome. And I'm sure sparking lots of thoughts and ideas for our audience. Thank you, Evan, for sharing that. Last thing that I'm thinking of is, kind of connected to something you've mentioned professional learning communities a little bit in, your role in coaching and serving your multilingual learner teachers and students. And the other piece, I had inquired about, the number of schools that you specifically support and the teachers at those schools. How do you develop professional learning community or communities across the schools that you serve that are specific to, um, teachers that are working with multilingual learners?
So my goal, right? Uh, Coming from the classroom to me, it was very easy to know what my role was. I teach the students this skill. Did they learn the skill by the end of class? Right? And that could be a life skill. That could be, what a whole note is. That could be what this a part of speech is. It's very easy to tell. And it has been my experience in my short time at central office that it can be a lot more nebulous in
Yeah.
central office what our role is. And I have tried to make it my mission to support the teacher in that classroom. And I hear all the time, "Oh, tell us how we can support you," right? And then the teacher goes in and is like, "Well, it's central office, they're not gonna support me." Right? And there's that disconnect. And when I got this role, I said, "I'm not gonna do that." And I have been very, very adamant and very passionate about what do you need? And within the last hour before we got on, I've had 3 different teachers that have emailed me. It's the second day they've come back, and all 3 of those teachers know me very well. And all 3 of those teachers, 2 of them are one school, one of them is at a different school, and they were asking me specific stuff for tomorrow's PD. And that was an hour before we got on the air. And it keeps that connection, that relationship. And I'm not always gonna like every initiative that comes out,
Right.
as I feel like most central office people are one way or the other. But they know me and they trust me, and I know and trust them. And so they know that if there's something that needs to be across all 21 schools, that I've got their back and vice versa. And we work as a unit. And so I know that the one teacher at the one school and the two teachers at the other school are going to have the same mental thought process as we go into this next week in the start of school. And so all of my schools in the South are going to come in with the same powerful game plan. And that doesn't mean all kids are the same. What it
Right.
means, we have the same mentality. We're ready to go. We're ready to lock and load for these ML kids. And we know where the resources are and what to do with them. And I think that has really helped me garner a uniform PLC because I know every one of those teachers. And it actually, I just got a brand new one literally a couple hours ago. Very first time I'd ever, she emailed me and I was like, I'm the new teacher. So I'm going to build that relationship right away. I've already sent her multiple paragraphs, right? And we're going to get the ball rolling and we're all going to have the same, energy and we're going to help these kids out.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah,
That makes our PLC more uniformed, more, uh, everybody's going for the same goal.
yeah. So as a professional learning community then across as you look across all the school sites and specifically to your role, with your teachers, is there time other than before, school starts, before the school year starts, is there any time built into the year where you're able to bring everyone together?
There are a few times. Now, again, since we had that redistrict, I don't know or reorganization.
Yeah.
I am kind of curious to see how that's going to play out this year. Typically, all the ML teachers, like at the elementary level, will all meet about once a quarter or so.
Okay.
And then in addition, uh, and I think this is going to be more um, appropriate, say this year, basically your area ML teachers are going to kind of get together.
Yeah.
So I'm anticipating, maybe every 6 weeks or so, where it's like, hey, all right, all our MLs in the South, let's have a powwow. Let's talk about what compliance. Let's talk about what some of our lessons are going to be like. Hey, are there any trends in the community that we need to know about?
Yeah.
So we've established once a quarter throughout the city. I am wondering about a more localized area, and then a lot of times it'll be weekly communications, or it'll be like an all blast to hey, the ML listserv, right?
Yeah.
Because we've got schools that are 40 minutes from each other, so that's not always practical, right? But we can give them the same information at the same time.
Sure. Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's awesome. Okay, very good. Evan, it has been a pleasure having you on our show today. As we start to wrap up, where could someone go if they want to learn more about you or about CMS schools?
yeah, thank you very much for having me. It's been a great time. You can, as with most school districts, I think, Googling Charlotte Mech Schools will work just fine. Our website is cms.k12.nc.us. Makes sense, right? Charlotte, K-12, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Um, and then on there, you should be able to see the entire district. We have our website laid out pretty much uniformly across the district. So I would say if you want to go through Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools, you can also look up any of our superintendents, assistant superintendents, and they will take you there. So cms.k12.nc.us.
Okay, thank you. And then last but not least, I want to give you an opportunity to recognize someone who's had a positive impact on your life as an educator.
All right. I would say I will shout out and acknowledge Mr. Jody Lukac. Even though I am an ML specialist now, like I said, I did start off in the music world, and he was one of my two band directors when I was 12 that started me on this journey. And I specifically wanted to shout him out because he is something very rare in today's education world, in that he has spent the last 28 years at one school. He has spent his entire teaching career at one school, and I do hope he retires from there in about 2 or 3 years so we can honor him. And I so hope that they name the band room after him. So as we start his 28th year in education, I would love to shout out my band mentor, Jody Lukac.
Okay, that's beautiful. Thank you. And I sure hope that he listens and is able to, take that in. Sometimes it can feel like a thankless job, and it's nice to, to hear how much of an impact you've had. So, thank you.
I think that entire town will greatly miss him when he's gone. So,
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay. Well, thanks, Evan. And that's a wrap, everyone. Thank you for joining us on Unlock 360. If this conversation sparked new thinking, share it with a colleague and keep the dialogue going in your school district. Public education is complex work, and progress happens when leadership and teaching move together. I'm Wendy York Davoud. Until next time, keep building the systems that unlock what's possible, because strong leadership drives deeper learning.